One of the things that I strive to do with my athletes is I strive to make sure that they're educated on the process of their training. I try to be very thorough in my explanations of here's what we're doing and here's why we're doing it. Now, if you've tuned into my content for any amount of time, you know that I'm always talking about zone 2. I'm always talking about riding base. I'm always talking about making sure that most of our days are those easy days. Well, you got good news coming your way, because one of the things that I also try to do is I try to use examples, real life examples, to try to explain training principles and concepts. And so today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the example of a candy store to explain the importance of doing zone 2 and really building that found aerobic base. Now, a candy store. Inside of a candy store, we obviously know that we have a bunch of candy, sweets, simple sugars. Now, we know as endurance athletes that simple sugar, simple carbohydrate, is the primary source of fuel that your body is going to like to use and want to use in order to get you to perform at the level that you would like. And so, if we're looking at this, let's all agree on one thing. We know that inside of the candy store is where we're going to need to go to be able to fuel our effort. And so all of us as athletes are standing out here saying at some point, I know I've got to go in there and I know that I've got to tap into this simple sugar carbohydrate type of a resource. Now, we have two kinds of athletes that are standing outside of this candy store. And so athlete number 1 is standing out here, they're looking at it, they know they need to get inside. However, because they have not done a good job building that aerobic base, they're simply standing outside of the candy store and they are not granted access to be able to go inside. The candy store contains a boundless amount of energy in which we can tap into to fuel our effort. But this athlete, unfortunately, is standing out here looking inside, longing for, wishing that they could get inside, but they're just not allowed to come inside. Athlete number 2 has done a good job building this aerobic base. And so because they've built this aerobic base nicely, they have a key in their hand that goes into the lock and can open the door to the candy store. They can go inside, they can walk in there, and they can choose a candy of their liking. Me personally, I'm a fan of the gummy bears. They're good stuff. So that athlete goes in there. Now, all of a sudden, we've been able to build that base and we're ready to do that higher intensity work that needs that simple carbohydrate. And lo and behold, we're able to fuel those kind of intervals and fuel that kind of intensity. Now, let's go back to the athlete that has not done a good job building their base. They're standing out here. They're going, man, I really know that I need to get in there. Well, they figure out a solution. And here it is. If I can just go and pick up a rock and I can go ahead and throw it through that window of that candy store, that window breaks, and now I can get inside and I can go grab some candy. And they're right, they can. So athlete that hasn't built a good base throws that rock, window breaks, they're inside the candy store, just like the athlete that has the key and access to the store. So both of those athletes are now inside of the candy store. So you're going, wait a minute, Mario, like, I don't get it. Both of them have been able to do what is necessary. For now, yes, they're both inside. However, athlete number 1 is simply walking the aisles. They're not in a hurry. They're sitting there going, I can take my time. I can grab as much candy as I want. Athlete number 2 is got limited time. Why? Well, you just threw a rock and you just broke into a candy store. So what do you think is going to happen? An alarm of some sort has gone off and the police are right around the corner and they're going to come inside and catch you red-handed and you're going to jail. So if you haven't built your base properly, then you are inside of the candy store, but now you know you have limited time. So you are scooping up in your hands just as many gummy bears as you can get. But you know you can only grab a limited amount, whatever you can hold on to, and then you've got to get going because if not, you're going to get arrested. So how does this play itself out? Let's go application now to athlete number 1 versus athlete number 2. Some folks that do not build their base properly, they're going to look great. they're going to, at the beginning of a race or at the beginning of a ride, they're going to be able to stick and be right there with the athlete that has the key to the candy store. However, what happens over time is that athlete that broke into the candy store because they didn't build their base properly, they've only been able to grab a handful of candy. They're going to run out of energy. They're going to run out of that ability to be able to fuel the effort that is necessary to continue to go. The athlete that has built the base properly, that did have the key to the candy store, they are going to be able to continue with that effort as long as they can fuel it. They're in the candy store. They continue to eat. They continue to be able to process and turn that chemical energy into kinetic energy, right? Chemical energy, food, kinetic energy, movement, propelling that bike forward, winning races, achieving your goals, getting stronger, getting faster. So now, hopefully, what this example has done, has shown you the importance of building that aerobic base. We don't want to have to throw a rock through the window to get inside of the candy store. Everybody's got to come here. Everybody knows that this is the destination that we're after. But if you don't build your base properly, you've got to do it illegally. If you build your base properly, you get a key put in your hand, you get to come inside, you get to get all the candy that you want, you get to eat until your heart's content, you get to achieve your goals, you get to build fitness, you get stronger, and lo and behold, you're able to leave your competition behind. Now, that being said, there is obviously a right way and there's a wrong way to do this. There's a science behind it, there's a progression that needs to happen, and a lot of times what I see in my experience is this progression takes more time than folks think. And so this is where having somebody like me as your coach comes in, because I will help you to be disciplined. I will help you to plug into this process as we are essentially standing out here. We know what we need to do, but hey, we are in the process of building a key. We're going to a key maker. We're getting that key made. You don't just automatically get put into your hand. You have to do the zone 2 rides. You have to put the time into the saddle. You have to do things properly. So if you are interested in learning more about how I can help you do this, DM the words gummy bears and let's have a chat. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments over this topic, I would love to see them and respond to them for you. Thank y'all.